In a region known as the Caucasus, spanning Eastern Europe and Western Asia, lies a country called Armenia. This small country is situated between Azerbaijan and Turkey, bordered to the north by Georgia and to the south by Iran. Its area covers only 30,000 square kilometers and is home to approximately 3 million inhabitants, many of whom work abroad and send remittances to support their families back home. Due to its restrictive geography, commercial activities are limited, and remittances sent by citizens abroad play a crucial role in the country's economy. Additionally, political tensions with Turkey to the west and Azerbaijan to the east hinder the establishment of trade partnerships with these two countries. Without direct access to the sea, Armenia's commercial interactions primarily occur over land, through Georgia and Iran, or rely on air transportation to meet the country's needs. Commercial activities with other countries are generally coordinated through its capital, Yerevan, which is also the most visited place and one of the most developed cities in Armenia. Apart from Yerevan, Armenia is mainly composed of small rural areas with little hustle and bustle. Now, let's talk a bit about Armenia's history. The country was annexed by Bolshevik Russia and incorporated into the Soviet Union along with Georgia and Azerbaijan, forming the Transcaucasian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic in 1922. Under Soviet rule, Armenians experienced a period of relative stability but also faced political repression, including church persecution during Stalin's regime. With the death of the communist dictator in 1953, there was relief among the population, and life in Soviet Armenia improved with the restoration of the church and the construction of a memorial to the victims of the Armenian genocide in 1967. In 1991, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, Armenia gained its independence but faced economic difficulties and armed conflict with Azerbaijan. The economic blockade imposed by Azerbaijan and Turkey exacerbated the country's economic woes. The region, being an active seismic zone, was devastated by an earthquake in 1988, resulting in the loss of 23,000 lives. Today, the Armenian people lead a life with a certain degree of dependence. In Yerevan, the atmosphere is not particularly cheerful or happy, reflecting concerns and a sense of tension, especially among adult men who appear more stressed compared to women. Women, on the other hand, are notably elegant and well-presented, demonstrating a higher vitality than men. They enjoy walks, relax in cafes, take photos in squares, and dress stylishly. Armenian women reflect a timeless elegance, each carrying a distinctive blend of grace and cultural heritage. Their radiant skin often complements the richness of their features, giving them a natural and glowing beauty. It is important to note that some of the people you may encounter in Armenia may have temporarily moved to the country following events in Russia and Ukraine, so not everyone on the street is necessarily Armenian. Especially when observing the features of some women, it is possible to identify traits indicating they come from Russia. It is said that Armenian men, especially after the wave of immigration from Russia, have a special preference for Russian and Ukrainian women and are influenced by them. Armenians predominantly communicate in their native language, Armenian, but Russian and English are also widely used in daily conversations. Additionally, the genetic composition of the Armenian people shows more typical characteristics of the Caucasus than of Slavic races. Generally, people from the Caucasus are characterized by dark hair and brown skin, a feature shared with other countries in the region such as Georgia and Azerbaijan. Men usually have dark hair and unkempt black beards, while women have dark hair and tan skin. The population you encounter on the streets encompasses a variety of groups, including office workers, students, and retirees. When Armenians engage in business, they are more likely to seek opportunities in Russia and European countries, as Armenia has a limited market and offers limited employment opportunities. Armenian women, although they may initially be active in the labor market, tend to focus on their families and husbands after the birth of children. Having children is of great importance to the Armenian people, especially considering the small population of the country, which revolves around 3 million inhabitants. It is crucial for them to increase their numbers to ensure the future of the nation. It is worth noting that out of the 3 million inhabitants, around 1.6 million are women, resulting in a difference of around 200,000 more women than men in the country. With the migration of young men to other European countries, Armenians face the challenge of maintaining and increasing their population in their own country. As for Armenian men, it is important to mention that they also show great enthusiasm for betting on sports competitions. People here seek opportunities to make easy money, recognizing that entering the local labor market does not guarantee wealth. In the streets of the capital, Yerevan, cleanliness is notable and a variety of vehicles circulate covering various budgets. However, when it comes to main streets, something peculiar catches the eye. Pedestrians often cross the street without paying much attention to traffic lights, choosing to do so when it suits them, regardless of whether the light is red. It seems that there is no strict penalty system to deter them from doing so. A significant challenge in Yerevan, especially in the summer months, is the extremely dry and hot climate with low humidity. In the city, there are fountains where tourists often drink water and take photos as souvenirs. The city boasts a well-developed metro system, allowing residents to move around the city easily. Near metro stations in busy areas, it is possible to find second-hand bookstores and antique shops from the Soviet era. In addition to tangible artifacts, Yerevan is home to many statues and architectural elements dating back to the Soviet era. Many buildings in the city center that are still in use are over 30 years old and bear the characteristics of that era. Squares in the capital, especially on weekends, are filled with activities. People like to spend their time in parks and cafes. Attendees at cafes are friendly and helpful, striving to offer excellent service and not hesitating to pose for photos. However, it is important to avoid political discussions with locals, as Armenia faces ongoing internal and external political turmoil, which can lead to conflicts among people. Regarding foreign policy, Armenians maintain a cold stance toward Azerbaijan and Turkey and tend to be reserved with citizens of these countries, even when they are tourists. On the other hand, if you greet someone, regardless of age, you are likely to receive a smile, friendly conversation, or gesture in return. In Republic Square, the center of social life in Yerevan, most events in the country are held and presented to the public. Old white minibuses are widely used for public transportation. Another notable aspect in Yerevan is the police patrolling the city in uniforms reminiscent of the military, maintaining public order and ensuring the welfare of citizens. Additionally, the population occasionally holds protests and demonstrations against the government, so the police maintain constant vigilance to prevent possible disturbances and maintain public order. One of the major deficiencies in Yerevan is related to families with children. Interestingly, the city lacks adequate playground areas where children can play and have fun comfortably. If you visit the city with your children, you will not find dedicated spaces for them and they often end up playing in the streets, requiring constant supervision. Although the average number of children per family in Armenia is around 2, the lack of investment in children's recreational spaces in the capital is disheartening. When you reach the highest points of the capital, you will be greeted with a view of spectacular mountains, and those familiar with geography will identify the silhouette of Mount Ararat in Turkey. The silhouette of the mountain is clearly visible from Yerevan, highlighting the country's proximity to Turkey. When observing the city from above, it becomes clear that it is not excessively large, with a limited number of modern tall buildings. For those renting a house in the city, it is important to note that comfort and luxury are often limited. Most available houses are dwellings or apartments that may need renovations. Buildings often have understated colors on their facades, and the average monthly rent for a two-bedroom apartment in Yerevan is around $500, a figure considered high by the local population. As for vehicles, most people drive old Mercedes cars and Russian models. Those in better financial standing may acquire newer German cars. Due to the almost total dependence on imports in virtually all sectors and limited local production, life in Armenia is challenging. A family of 4 needs a minimum monthly income of $1,000 to survive, although it is possible to get by with less, often resulting in privations. Currently, the currency used in Armenia is the Armenian dram, and the minimum monthly wage in the country is approximately 55,000 Armenian dram, equivalent to only $125. The average monthly rent for an individual ranges between $300 and $400, placing it not only below the European, Arab, and American averages but also below many Balkan countries. This reflects the extremely low wages in the country, leading people, including the elderly, to continue working to survive. One of the highlighted areas in Armenian production is the wine sector, and the country's inhabitants rely heavily on the quality of locally produced wines. You can taste and evaluate these wines in the country's luxury restaurants. However, venturing outside the capital and exploring Armenia's rural areas gradually takes you away from modern life and into a more traditional environment. In Armenia, vast stretches of land remain untouched, maintaining their simplicity throughout generations. Although some small villages have been established in these areas, the majestic mountains remain unchanged for thousands of years. However, in rural regions, both building infrastructure and road design make life even more challenging for Armenians. People in the villages lead a simpler and more natural life, consuming bread and products they produce. They often engage in animal husbandry or agriculture, ensuring their subsistence even when incomes are limited. Armenia overall is a country worth visiting but offers few attractive opportunities for permanent life due to internal and external political issues that weaken the country. If you enjoyed the video, please leave your like and your comment. And don't forget to activate the notification bell to always be notified of new videos. See you in the next video.